some 14 minutes to the top of the hour, 9 a.m. Ebenezer Nimakunyaku is with EN Analytics Consult. And he's joining us in studio. Good morning, Chairman. How are you?
I'm very fine.
You are good?
You guys are looking great this morning.
We are learning small. We're learning from you small. This morning, you say we're going to discuss parliamentary conversations.
Yes.
Okay, what about it?
And as well as see if you can make some projections.
Who is getting in, who is not getting in, what's going to shake and what's not going to shake.
Exactly.
All right. We are all ears.
So we first have to look at the 2020 parliamentary election.
Right.
And if you look at the data, there are 877 aspirants who contested for that particular elections. And out of that particular number, 122 were females, representing 14%. And then the remaining 755 were men, representing 86%. So if you see the number, you see that it also correlates with the number of MP females who were elected. So there is this simple correlation that if more female MPs make themselves available and contest, the ratio of female MPs in Parliament who are elected will increase.
I see. Okay. But then the women say they shy away from some of the political activities. One, because you hardly hear about a man who is running for MP being asked about his personal life, whether they are married or they have children. A woman comes and it's one of the questions that are asked, and they say, well, they don't want to be in the public eye for the wrong reason, so they would rather shy away from it.
Yeah, but I think gradually we have to try and work on I think these are cultural issues. That need to be worked on. Yeah, I think that we've come far. And I think some of these questions, that is why when you come to Ghana in particular in Africa, certain type of women who have achieved certain levels don't want to venture into politics.
Because it's dirty.
Yes, because they've built their reputations over the years, and they don't want politics to be as a way of tainting their career. But if you look at if you do a simple age distribution, you can see that the shape of the age distribution of both the MPs and the aspirants follows the normal, what we call like the normal curve. So you have majority of the aspirants falling between 40 and 49 years. And it goes the same with the MPs who were elected. Out of the MPs that were elected, you have 111 falling between the age bracket of 40 and 49. And then 34 between 30 and 39. So you realize that these are some of the age characteristics of our MPs in Parliament. And it is fascinating to see that we have one person who was who was less than 30, who was elected into Parliament, and I think it's a good sign
who is this individual?
Yes, so just give me a
Vincent Esefo.
Yes, so
Otafu.
Let me check.
Okay.
I think Kwabre East.
Kwabre East. Yeah. That's correct.
Francis Kautin.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Francis Kautin. So
that is what do you call it? A repetition of what happened to Dominic Nitiwo when he first got into Parliament. He was about the youngest in Parliament at the time when he got in.
I also thought that Adjosafo was also quite young, but not as young as these individuals.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. And then if you look at when it comes to the parties, the MPs who are, let's say the NDC MPs are relatively older. On average than the NPP ones. Yeah, so if you are looking at the age distribution, you see that, for example, between 30 and 39, you have 11 of them being NDC, and then you have 23 being MPP. Okay, but when you move to from 40 going, then you see that 59 NDC and then 52 NPP.
Right.
So as you go along the age change, then you realize that on average, NPP MPs are
way younger,
relatively younger.
But what does that mean for longevity? Because in Parliament, they rely a lot on institutional memory. And so the older you stay in Parliament, you get a lot of institutional memory, which also helps you in the debate and analysis of issues there. Is that showing in the lives of the NDC MPs as compared to the MPP MPs?
Yeah, so I think most of the time, if you are younger and you go into Parliament, then the probability of you staying longer is there. But one of the science within the data is that on average, if you are an NP and you hit 4 consecutive terms, between 4 and the 5th term, there is something we call candidate fatigue setting.
Right. That's 20 years.
Yes.
If you went for 5 terms, that's 20
between
years.
4 and 5.
Right.
So parties should look at that particular age, that particular number. If you look at all the constituencies that have become very close contests, majority of them are coming from MPs who are who have stayed in power for about 4 terms.
Right.
Or 5 terms.
There are those who also, for their own good, they check out. Like Honorable Kennedy Japan, he's going.
Exactly.
Osechi Mensabos is not coming back.
Exactly.
Joe Seusu is not coming back.
Yes.
You go on the NDC side, Yele Tren. Most of them say, okay, we've had enough, because some have been there since 1992, some since 1996. So it's okay what you're saying. But then again, in terms of institutional memory, how do we ensure that we don't lose? Because if you just put new people in there, then that institutional memory is gone.
Yes, but so I think there is a gradual process. So you realize that maybe you are looking at people like Kennedy Ghanian Japan. His constituency technically, it's actually now a contested constituency because and my projection is that it's a toss-up because you look at the margins, the direction is shifting towards that Asin enclave.
Right.
It's gradually actually shifting towards an NDC trajectory. Okay, so his constituency is also affected by that particular underlying shifts. But I think the other one person that I think that who is done well is I think Joe Wise Bekwai. Yeah, because he's living on a high. His last, if you look at his last 2020 percentage, he was not even in the 50s, around 63% that he got.
That's right.
But in spite of that, he can even go 2 times. So in spite of that, he thinks that he has served his nation.
But why would, with all the confidence that the people reposed in him showing in the electoral record, he supported COP Alex Mensah, right? And the people decided that we cannot. If he has that margin of votes in the constituency and he has control of the constituency, if he's bringing a candidate, that candidate automatically should have, gotten the nod. Yeah.
Sometimes, like the U.S. elections, and endorsement sometimes doesn't translate into votes. So you can see that there were big stars that endorsed Kamala Harris,
right?
But it actually didn't translate into the needed vote that she was looking for. So it is 50-50. There are some whose endorsement carry more weight than the other.
Right.
So, but I think that the people there liked him. They love him for what he's done, but they want to be allowed to choose who they want
to lead them.
Not be imposed.
What does that say of our electorate? Are they becoming more sophisticated and complex?
Very, very. You can't. The other time somebody asked me about the influence of money, gifts, and all of these things on our elections, and I told the person that per the data, it does not translate at at the granular level, at the national level.
Right.
Because even at the what do you call it, primaries, when parties are electing their own flag bearer candidates, you realize that most of the candidates complain. They go and give people a lot of money.
Right.
By the time they realize the people
delegates.
Exactly, they are voting for different people. So it translates across the spectrum of the Ghanaian electoral space. So even if within a party who have an ideology, even take your money and don't vote for you, how much more the broader voting public, where you have a lot more independent-minded voters, who view national development and other related issues as the main issue to discuss.
I will come. I see you're interested in the U.S. elections. We'll come there briefly, but let's engage with Sani Abdulrahman. He is our man in the United States. Sani, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Johnny.
Great. Now, I'm sure that the U.S. is on fire as well. What can you share from where you stand?
Well, it's quiet here in the New York because this is a traditionally blue state, and New Yorkers have voted to support Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States, but that has not ultimately gone in sync with what the entire Americans want. It's becoming increasingly clear that Donald Trump, the former president, will be heading to the White House as we speak. 267 electoral college votes, which is an indication that he's just 3 electoral votes shy away from winning the presidency. The chances for Kamala Harris, the candidate for the Democratic Party, is looking increasingly slimmer. And that means her attempts to become the first woman president of the United States is not going to materialize. So, Johnny, if you ask me, that's largely what's been happening here. Donald Trump has just been addressing his supporters in Florida, where he declared victory even before the entire certified results come in.
Right.
We've heard from world leaders like the French President Emmanuel Macron. We've heard from Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu, among a host of world leaders who have been congratulating Donald Trump for emerging the winner, which is yet to be officially announced because the results are still coming in, but it looks increasingly clear that Donald Trump will be heading back to the U.S. White House.
Does it surprise you? I mean, if somebody had said at the beginning of this year that Donald Trump was going to come back stronger and win the elections, I'm sure many would have doubted. Does it surprise you as well?
Well, Johnny, if you look at the dynamics from the start of the year, Donald Trump had a lot of advantages over his main contender at the time, the U.S. President Joe Biden. But when Biden opted out of the race and Kamala Harris came in, the dynamics changed. She gathered some serious momentum, which gave the indication that the polls were going to be very close, and we've been told it's neck to neck, and we haven't seen that because since the start of the counting of the votes, Donald Trump has been in the lead from the get-go. He hasn't let go of the lead, and he has gone all the way to becoming increasingly clear as the next U.S. president. Quite not surprising, because if you look at the issues that voters have given prominence in this election, you look at the issue of immigration, which is of huge concern to the white community, the white nationalists. They have the view that the borders have been quite weak. And if you look at the crime rates related to illegal immigrants, which also have been on the rise, that gave credence to their concern. If you look at the issue of the economy, grocery prices are quite on the high, but surprisingly, because on the other hand, if you look at the performance of the economy, it's not like the pre-pandemic levels, but we have seen the Democrat and Joe Biden trying to do all that it can to return the economy to the pre-pandemic levels. If you look at inflation where it was in 2020, in 2021, It's not the same today. We've seen the Fed cutting interest rates, which has a huge impact on the lives of ordinary Americans. But I think too late for those improvements in the indicators of the economy. Right. That may have not gone well with the electorate.
The conversations about people's rights, particularly for immigrants, has come up, strongly in the last time we had that conversation. And many fear that with Trump back in the saddle and back in the seat, it could mean doom for people who are not of American extraction. Do you get that vibe around you?
Well, Johnny, if you look at what happened between 2017 and 2020 when Donald Trump was president, aside the fact that there was deportation, you could see also people who have some sort of racist kind of behavior had this energy and sort of indirect support that our president, who also somehow often give these rhetorics, it's in office and I can do what I want as far as misbehaving is concerned, and I may not be punished for those behaviors. And these are the same pattern that we are seeing. People are saying we are taking back our country. But interestingly, in terms of deportation, as Donald Trump has pledged to carry out the largest deportation in American history, if you look at the numbers, Barack Obama did more deportation than Donald Trump. But also, what you also need to look at is that this is his second and final term. He has nothing to lose. He doesn't seek a re-election, so he may be going all out. And looking at the dynamics in this election also, they are en route to winning the lower chamber of the House. They have won the Senate as we speak now. It tells you that they will have a clear majority, a clear path to power, and they may not have any sort of checks and balances in terms of the houses. And that may give them the edge to carry out whatever they want to carry. But America has lost. You cannot just stand up and decide to deport people. There are a lot of legal obstacles. There are procedures to follow. And I don't think it looks very easy for Donald Trump to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants, as he has been saying.
Well, so the question now is Donald Trump the president America needs at this crucial time?
Well, if you look at the performance of the economy, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, clearly Donald Trump did a lot. Of course, there was no COVID-19. There was no Russian invasion of Ukraine. So you can give some sort of excuses to Joe Biden. But in terms of American businesses, Donald Trump has done well compared to Joe Biden, who came after him. Essentially, if you look at the numbers, Donald Trump gave a lot of tax reliefs to businesses, which we haven't seen much being done by Joe Biden in that regard. And that means employers had a lot of income in their possession. That means employers could give more overtime, more bonuses to employees. And that means the ordinary American is feeling the impact or the energy in the economy. So clearly, in terms of economic performance, we could say Joe Biden did not do as Donald Trump did, but we also should not take our eyes off the fact that there was COVID-19, which had a huge impact on the American economy.
Sani Abdulrahman, I want to thank you for your time, and you stay safe out there.
Thank you.
And Sani Abdulrahman reaching us from the United States, where he's been giving us some updates on the U.S. elections. In studio with me is Ebenezer Nimakunyako of EN Analytics Consulting Limited. We're taking a look at the parliamentary landscape here in Ghana. Before that intervention from Sani Abdulrahman in the United States, from New York, we had gotten to the point where we're saying, okay, institutional memory, that we could have more women if they put themselves up and etc. We've spoken about the age as well. So the NDC has more aging parliamentarians than the NPP, as you have relatively younger people on the side of the NPP, etc. let's look at the impact on the election, the big election, and the age distribution thing is on our Facebook page. You can go and check it out. But let's look at the impact on the big elections.
Yeah, so I mean, we are here to have sometimes certain predictions are based more on research.
Right.
Okay. So maybe there isn't that much analysis to do. Look at the correlation or the impact of age on election outcomes. Okay, so in that area there is a bit of little to talk about in that area. Okay, but one thing I want to bring in is that, you know, in 2020 presidential, the Ghana Union movement
GUM
was the third party.
That's correct.
Okay.
The third force, if you will.
Exactly, in the presidential elections. Okay. Now, if you look at the parliamentary, it tells you the reason why they were the third party to have filed the highest number of aspirants across the country.
79.
Exactly.
And the distribution is on the screen.
Exactly.
So NDC had, MPP has 275 in all the constituencies,
Yes.
NDC 275. GUM came third with 79.
Yes.
Then there were 66 independent candidates, 40 for CPP, 38 for PNC, 38 for NDP. LPG had 22, PPP had 19 contestants, GCPP had 13, APC had 7, and UPP had 5.
Exactly.
Wow.
And surprisingly, concerning the independent candidates, 22 of them came from the Ashanti region alone.
Wow.
So a third of the 66 is from the Ashanti. So you can see that, I mean, 2020, mostly there were lots of disaffection within the new the new patriotic party, which resulted. Ashanti region is relatively a safe seat. Okay, but the more people go independent within the party, it has its own repercussions on the overall performance of the party. And I think these are some of the things that we saw in 2020. So there appears that the new patriotic party suffers slightly of the effect of a lot of people going on independent in 2020. I think probably they might have learned their lesson in 2024. I think the process was a bit smoother than how they.
But there's still some disgruntled people. That's why Parliament is not sitting. The Speaker will address Parliament. He will address the press today, but you clearly can see 3 people on the NPP side whose seats have been declared vacant by the Speaker who are not happy with the party, so they are going to run independent. There's one on the side of the NDC. It doesn't give an indication that, okay, people are still not happy.
Yeah, I think the pattern of going independent, it's gradually becoming more intense within the NPP than the NDC.
That if I feel that I have been pushed out, I will go and run independent.
Yeah, mostly, I mean, technically, when you are in opposition, the probability of you going independent is very low. But when you are within government, maybe you are a minister, you are an MP, you think that, no, you've developed your own clout, which you can carry along. So I think these are some of the dynamics. And I want to look at in the 2020 elections, there were the top constituencies, let's say with the top percentages. Okay. And we have to look at this because it gives you those who can stay in for the long haul. Okay. So the candidate that has the highest percentage in 2020 election as an MP was Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa.
In Northtown.
Yes, he had 89.7.
Wow.
Okay. Completely obliterating 8 opponents. Followed by, so actually it was a contest between Ashanti, the top 10 was a contest between Ashanti and Volta.
I see.
So
both strongholds.
Exactly.
NPP stronghold in the Ashanti and NDC stronghold in the Volta region.
The next one is Francis Asenso-Boakye of Bantama. He had 88.8.
Wow. That's the NPP's World Bank, if you will.
Exactly. And then the third is Charles Akwesi, I think Agotime Ziope.
Okay.
Charles Akwesi Agbevi, 87.8.
Right.
And then it swung back to Kwadaso, Kingsley Nyakon,
right,
87.5. Then it went to voter Angno, Richard Kwame Sefe, 87.5. And then Keta, 85.8. Ho Central, 85. And then Bosomche Yao Educhum.
Right.
Yeah, 84.9. And then Adakulu. Exactly. 84.8. And then finally our current vice presidential candidate of the NPP, Menchia South, he had 84.7.
What does this mean? This means that the parties have entrenched their positions in their strongholds.
Exactly. Exactly. So as I've been saying, I mean, aside these two strongholds, most of the regions are going within the center of the political divide. So it is very difficult to find maybe an area where a candidate can get like 80%.
Right.
Most of these swing constituencies, when the candidates come in, mostly they are 60%, 58%, thereabout. So that the strongholds concept is still alive and kicking in Ghana.
I see.
And you can see that most of the MPs are well entrenched and doing well in their stronghold.
So Napo is no longer in the race because he's a vice presidential candidate, but all the rest are in the race, contesting again for this year's election.
Exactly.
How should their parties approach in trying to protect them because they bring in the big numbers?
Yes. These are relatively the percentages. Okay, so there could be, I think, when it comes to the numbers, I think Adaklu probably is one of the biggest ones. So you may have a percentage of, let's say, 89, but in terms of the national
average,
maybe the registered voters is, let's say, 30,000,
right?
And you must still get like 90% because you are getting 90%. In terms of percentage, fine, but in terms of the nominal numbers, your contribution to the overall might be relatively smaller.
Right.
Okay, so this is how the whole pattern looks like.
Interesting, yeah.
Yes.
I see. I want to thank you very much. Unless you have some closing thoughts to share, then we can hug you goodbye.
Yeah, so I think tomorrow will be very interesting.
And I have something that up your sleeves.
I want our listeners and viewers to stay tuned.
Right.
Because tomorrow, at least for the Greater Accra, all the 34 constituencies, I am going to make a projection of who will win, who will lose, and races that are toss-up. These are based on scientifically calibrated models, statistical models, which, I mean, I can say that they're about 95% with accuracy. So,
tomorrow you're going to tell people if they are wasting their time or if they are doing something right.
Exactly. So tomorrow,
but then let me just a teaser. Has it gone beyond redemption for those who may not be winning?
I mean, it depends on the...
Because now it's extra time.
Yes, it depends on the closeness of the race. If the race is a toss-up, okay, it means that it's 50-50.
Right.
If that constituency is classified or projected to be a toss-up, it's 50-50. But what it means is that, for example, the Domio Kwabena is projected as what we call toss-up plus NPP.
Right.
It's going to be a very close contest, but NPP will win it marginally. We've moved it from likely NPP, which was like winning by over 60, with 60, about 60, more than 60%, because that race in Domio Kwabena is now it's no longer an MPP stronghold.
No.
It is going to be a very keen contested constituency, but we project the NPP to just pass through.
I see.
Yes. So tomorrow, everybody.
Tomorrow, there's more juice here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Ebenezer Nimakunyako of EN Analytics Consulting Limited. We thank you very much for your time. We're grateful, as always. Helen, are you surprised?
Not at all. Very interesting stats as we gear up to the elections. But of course, with that teaser, tomorrow, if you're not here, and as you see, we're projecting the graphs as well, so you can follow along in the conversation, because Accra is a swing region.
It is.
So how the pendulum will be swinging this time round, well...
And bear in mind that, Ketsi, Mr. Nyako, we know that if voter turnout reduces in Accra for you,
you can kiss that seat goodbye. So tomorrow we'll be here to hear all about it.
If you are in power and the voter turnout is going down, you must watch Accra.
Oh boy.
Because your life could be in jeopardy. Let me take you back to Parliament, because we spoke about Parliament. Take you to 1997.